We talked about the meeting that Vice President Kamala Harris had with African-American female voting rights activists. Some of them were arrested the day before at the U.S. Senate, the Hart Senate building. Some of them were arrested the day before. So, we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm going to share with you the second part of the interview with Melanie Campbell. Melanie Campbell from National Black Civic Participation. She was she was at the meeting, and she was one of the activists who were arrested. So I'm also going to share with you the excerpt of the panel discussion, because I commented on what was taking place, and I commented on the interview, etc. So we'll talk about that. Vice President Kamala Harris will continue our discussion. We talked about it a little bit on a Friday show. We'll continue our discussion here. Vice President Kamala Harris meets with Black women voting rights activists after their arrest. Now, first, I want to deal with this story out of Texas. Now, we know the House Democrats out of Texas, the Texas state legislature. We know they're in Washington, D.C., pushing for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the For the People Act. OK, there's a story from Friday, July 16th, out of Texas, dealing with the Texas State Senate, and the Texas State Senate voted to remove required lessons on civil rights. They voted to remove required lessons on civil rights. And this is going to also impact figures like Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Chavez, Dr. King. And it's going to impact, according to the story here, what is going to be taught in Texas schools K through 12. Now, it passed the Texas Senate. It can't pass the Texas House because there is not a quorum in the Texas House. They don't have a two-thirds of the body in the Texas House because 51 Democrats are in Washington, D.C. right now. And that's a good thing for right now. But we're going to talk about this because this also deals with the attack on critical race theory. And I was looking at some reporting on this from the local news station KVUE there in the Texas area. And this also deals with the hysteria around critical race theory, and critical race theory is not taught in K through 12. That's a legal analysis taught in law schools and graduate schools. And Republicans are using this to push an agenda. They're using this to attack the 1619 Project, to attack how the history of slavery is taught in schools, attack teaching about systemic racism, etc. So this continues. OK, this continues. So not only are we dealing with Republicans pushing the lie of the big lie and getting bills passed. Now it's 18 state legislatures have passed bills dealing with these voter restriction bills, pushing this big lie. Not only do we have that, we also have the attack dealing with what's being taught in schools and using the lie of the fear of critical race theory. And critical race theory, once again, is not, nobody's advocating for it to be taught in schools, K through 12. OK, they're using the lie of the fear of critical race theory to continue to push this agenda. So we'll discuss this as well. Now, at the same time this is taking place, we see in Virginia last weekend, and I did not get a chance to talk about it here on the show. We see in Virginia last weekend, we see that statues of General Robert E. Lee, Confederate General Robert E. Lee, and Thomas Stonewall Jackson were removed, taken down in Charlottesville, Virginia, And this is where in August 2017, you had the right to the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, and you had the white female activist Heather Heyer was killed when an idiot drove his car into a crowd of protesters. Well, they removed this these statues from that park there in Charlottesville. And a lot of that had to do with the efforts of an African-American female college student, okay, who started a petition to get the statues removed. We see the statues of Generals Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson were taken down. Taken down last Saturday. That would have been the 17th. Nearly 4 years after white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups stormed the Virginia college town to protect it. So we'll talk about this as well. And then the July 13th was the anniversary of the New York Draft Riot of 1863 during the Civil War. The New York Draft Riot of 1863 during the Civil War. And this happened after the Emancipation Proclamation. I've talked about the New York Draft Riot of 1863 before. We'll talk about that as well. It's a very interesting history because you had white men, poor white men, who were rioting, destroying federal property, looting, things like this, kind of like what they did January 6th. You had them doing this because many poor white men could not pay the $300 fine for not being drafted into the army. But wealthy white men could, and they could stay out of the Civil War and let the poor white men go fight in the Civil War. And the Emancipation Proclamation, January 1st, 1863, even though that's not what freed the slaves, that changes the trajectory and the purpose of the Civil War. So we're going to talk about this. Okay. All right. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com to sign up for our email newsletter. All right. Calling number 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. Be sure to follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And we're broadcasting on our Facebook page and my YouTube channel right now also. I'm going to send you this clip here, these two clips here, Jalen. We're going to go to clip one here in just a second. All right. So let's look at this first article here. This is from BloombergLaw.com, BloombergLaw.com. This deals with Texas Senate votes to remove required lessons on civil rights. This is from July 16th, Friday 16th, 2021. So the attack on critical race theory continues. We know Fox News is complicit in this. Okay, we've talked about Fox News as well. And there was the piece from Media Matters that dealt with how Fox News has increased the mentions of critical race theory, how it increased so many times it to about 1,300 times, sometimes like last month. I'm going to pull that up here in just a minute. We'll go to that article dealing with Fox News and critical race theory. But if we look at this piece here from Bloomberg Law, I think this is it right here. Let me see. What is it? They have a few of them actually dealing with critical race theory, but the we'll pull this up. I think this is it right here. Fox News obsession with critical race theory by the numbers. Yeah, this is the one from June 15th, 2021. Okay. And you can check out this article here. This is from MediaMatters.org, MediaMatters.org. This is that idiot, this African-American woman. That's that dumbass that got up at the school board meeting in Florida, denouncing critical race theory. But critical race theory, they don't teach that in school. She was on Roland Martin's show. Her name is Keisha. Go watch that segment of Roland Martin. You see how stupid she is. These are the type of black people they prop up there and put on Fox News. Okay. Fox News obsession with critical race theory out of numbers. Fox News has mentioned critical race theory over 1,900 times in the past 3 months. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation and Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting, LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. Now, right before the break, we were talking about the story out of Texas, and this deals with an attack on critical race theory, but also an attack on what can be taught in schools pertaining to history. All right. Now, we see states like Texas and Georgia, a lot of these former Confederate states, we see them passing laws to restrict the right to vote and restrict who can vote. OK, because they're trying to shave off percentages of different populations who actually vote so they can win more, so Republicans can win more elections. We see this taking place, and they want to control who can vote today and in the future. And they also are looking to control how history is taught as well. OK, and whoever controls the teaching of the past will control the trajectory of the future. So they want to control how history is taught. Also, while at the same time, they are trying to restrict who can vote. All right. So they can win more elections. And when we look at Texas, Texas is becoming less and less white and a more diverse state. So you have white Republicans trying to maintain power. And we see this in various states across the country. We know that by the year 2043, white people will no longer be the majority population in this country. And some white people have a problem with that. Not all white people, not all of them. Some of them don't fear that at all, but there's a lot of them that do. They voted for, many of them voted for Donald Trump. So if you go back and look at this article here from BloombergLaw.com, Texas Senate votes to remove required lessons on civil rights. The Texas Senate on Friday passed legislation, Friday, July 16th, passed legislation that would end requirements that public schools include writings on women's suffrage and the civil rights movement in social studies classes. Among the figures whose works would be dropped include Susan B. Anthony, who fought for women's suffrage. Now, she was a bigot also. They did make amends, her and Frederick Douglass, before Frederick Douglass died in 1895. But she said some very unkind things regarding African Americans, especially African American men, because a lot of white women got upset that African American men could vote before white women could vote because of the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Cesar Chavez, who fought for the rights of immigrant workers, Cesar Chavez, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose I Have a Dream speech and letter from a Birmingham jail would no longer make the curriculum cut. And when they teach about Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, first of all, the name of the speech was not Have a Dream. That's what it was called later. Originally, it was called Normalcy Never Again, and then it's called a Cancel Check. And people should go to loc.gov, Library of Congress website, or go to the King Institute at online at Stanford University. Go to the King Institute and read the speech, because the speech was not about a dream. The speech is about calling America out on America's hypocrisy and holding America accountable for a promissory note that America gave us 100 years prior in 1863, okay, with the Emancipation Proclamation. And he talks about, he's talking about dismantling white supremacy. That's what the speech is about. It's about dismantling white supremacy, holding America accountable for this promissory note. And he talks about police brutality in the speech. He talks about America. He talks about African Americans moving from a smaller ghetto to a larger ghetto. He talks about how the Negro in the South can't vote, and the Negro in New York feels he has nothing to vote for. You go through and read the speech, okay? It's an indictment of America. and the hypocrisy of America. And he talks about how we were given a promissory note in 100 years prior in 1863. And then we take that promissory note to the bank to cash it, and it's marked insufficient funds. This is why at one point the speech was called a canceled check. When you read the article that Clarence B. Jones wrote for the Washington Post, and Clarence B. Jones was a speechwriter, one of the speechwriters for Dr. King. Okay. He talks about how the phrase, "I have a dream," didn't even appear in the original drafts of the speech. The speech wasn't about a dream. All right. It's about holding America accountable for this promise we were given 100 years prior. And I'm trying to see if I can pull up that article from that Clarence B. Jones wrote for the Washington Post. So we have to study this history. Okay, we have to study this history, and you can go to LOC.gov, Library of Congress website, and you can go to archives.gov, and you can read the full speech that's renamed "I Have a Dream," and you can see it for yourself. Dr. King calls out police brutality, all this stuff. Now, what happens is Mahalia Jackson says towards the end of the speech, because the speech, Dr. King was scheduled to speak 4.5 minutes, basically 4.5 minutes. He speaks 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes. Okay. And let me see. I think this is, I want the actual article. And what happens is Mahalia Jackson yells out, "Tell them about the dream, Martin, tell them about the dream." So then Dr. King shifts, and he shifts to a speech that he gave earlier back in like June here in Detroit, dealing with the dream. Okay. But when you go through and analyze the dream in the beloved community, that's what happens after you have dismantled white supremacy and racism. The dream that he's talking about is what happens after you dismantle white supremacy and racism. The trick that Republicans are pulling, and some Democrats are pulling also, and some white people in general, and some black conservatives, the trick that they're pulling is to talk about the dream, but not deal with dismantling white supremacy and the structural inequities that still exist today, not addressing that. So what they're really trying to do is just keep us asleep and keep us dreaming. Because Dr. King is talking about dealing with the laws and policies that were put in place that maldistributed wealth-bound resources. And this is why he had the Poor People's Campaign. The Poor People's Campaign, dealing with redistributing the wealth in this country, redistributing resources in this country. Okay, so if we go back and look at this article here, and I was trying to find it, I see they have an interview with them. I want to find the actual. I want to find the actual article that Clarence B. Jones wrote. I'm going to try to find that. And he wrote that, if I remember correctly, for the Washington Post. Okay, we'll try to find that one. Now, I want to go to clip one here. Clip one deals with the story out of Texas. And you're going to hear, this is dealing with the Texas Senate Committee advances critical race theory bill. Now, this is from Thursday, July 15th. Then the bill passed the Texas State Senate on Friday, July 16th. We'll play a second clip from Friday, July 16th after the bill passed. We'll play that next. But first, I want to go to clip number 1. This is from KVUE TV there in Austin, Texas. Texas Senate Committee advances critical race theory bill. Let's go to this clip.
Banning critical race theory in Texas public schools. That's one item on the agenda this special session in the Texas legislature. After hours of public comment, the Senate Committee on State Affairs voted to send Senate Bill 3 to the full Senate for a vote. KV's Molly Oak breaks down that bill.
Critical race theory was a hot topic during the regular session, and now it's back. Thursday, the Senate Committee on State Affairs held a public hearing on Senate Bill 3. Mineola Republican Senator Brian Hughes says the bill requires a broad framework but doesn't affect what is taught, creates a civics training program for teachers, prohibits teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues, among other things. However, critics say it will limit what's taught in Texas public schools and whitewash history. Now, lawmakers already passed a House bill on critical race theory during the regular session. It included several amendments that required a diverse group of literature on race to be taught, and Governor Greg Abbott signed that bill into law. But the governor wants lawmakers to change it back to the original bill, which is why it's back on the call. According to the text, SB 3 would remove the requirement to teach things like slavery and the ways it is morally wrong, women's suffrage and equal rights, the Emancipation Proclamation, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Some of those against the bill say the intent of the author is different than the interpretation from the public, and worry this will shackle teachers and students from having meaningful discussions in their classrooms.
KV's Molly Oak reporting. You can stay up to date on the...
Okay, pause it right there. We're going to go to clip 2. Okay, so that was on Thursday, July 15th. All right. And once again, this deals with this story out of Texas. Okay. Dealing with this attack on critical race theory. Now, once again, critical race theory is not taught in K through 12. Nobody's advocating that critical race theory be taught in K through 12. That is a legal analysis taught in law schools and taught in graduate schools. For more background information on critical race theory, because this wasn't a big issue before September 2020, when Donald Trump signed a executive order banning diversity training it's really banning diversity training in the federal government and things like that. And then it became a lightning rod after that. After September 2020, we see it really exploded. But if we look at this article here from the Black News Channel, BNC.com, Representative Vernon Jones wants to ban critical race theory, can't define what it is. This was dealing with an interview that Mark Lamont Hill did with former Georgia State Representative Vernon Jones, who's now running for governor, he says, of Georgia. And Vernon Jones, who's usually clueless, Vernon Jones said the first thing he would do, or one of the first things he would do, was sign an executive order banning the teaching of critical race theory in schools, but it's not being taught in schools in Georgia, and no one's advocating that it be taught in schools in Georgia. This is just a hot button issue for a lot of white Republicans. And he's appealing to that. Now, critical race theory is a legal analysis on the premise that race is a social construct that is used to oppress people of color rather than a natural biological feature. Look at Britannica has information here in the article from Encyclopedia Britannica about critical race theory. We've talked about this a lot. Critical race theorists hold that the law and legal institutions in the United States are inherently racist insofar as they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. So it's a legal analysis understanding the laws and policies in this country, how they maldistribute wealth pound resources, how they do harm to non-white people. And I mean, you study the history of laws in this country from the Homestead Act of 1862. I mean, I'm not even skipping over 246 years of slavery, but a Homestead Act of 1862, Southern Homestead Act of 1866, Allotment Act of 1887. And that land was 138 million acres of land was supposed to be redistributed and largely go to African Americans and Native Americans, and 2/3 went to white people. So all you have to do is study the laws and policies in this country. U.S. Interstate Highway Acts of 1952 and 1956, the Federal Housing Act of 1949. All you have to do is just study the laws. It becomes pretty clear. So read this article here from Black News Channel. And then there was also another one that dealt with, there was one from NBC News. Now this is a good 17-page expose from NBC News. Critical race theory battle invades school boards with help from conservative groups. Critical race theory battle invades school boards with help from conservative groups, as well as help from Fox News. In towns nationwide, well-connected conservative activists and Fox News have ramped up the tension in fights over race and equity in schools. Now, this is from June 15th, 2021. June 15th, 2021. This is a 17-page article. I know because I printed it out and read it. This is a deep, this deals with what's behind this whole push and the funding of it from right-wing organizations. Okay. And how it has become a lightning rod at school board meetings in a lot of these white communities. All right. Even though it's not, critical race theory is not being taught there. Okay. So I want to go to clip number 2. And this is dealing with, once again, out of Texas. So the Texas state legislature in the Senate, the Texas Senate state legislature voted on Friday, July 16th, in a vote 18-4 to remove required. They voted for this bill. It is SB 3, Senate Bill 3. And it will remove required lessons on civil rights and other things like the women's suffrage movement. Let's go to clip number 2, Jalen.
In other news this Friday, dozens of Texas House Democrats remain in our nation's capital, urging Congress to pass federal voting legislation. A bill banning critical race theory in Texas classrooms passed the Texas Senate here in Austin today. This would apply to Texas public schools, kindergarten through high school. Critical race theory is an academic discipline exploring the idea that the concept of race was created to suppress groups of people, and that in the United States, several systems, from slavery to the modern-day legal system, are inherently racist because they were created to maintain racial superiority. Mineola Republican Senator Brian Hughes says the bill would require a broad framework that doesn't affect what is taught, creates a civics training program for teachers, and prohibits teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues, among other things. Those against the bill argue that the bill would brush aside or whitewash history.
Our classrooms should be places for fostering a diverse and fact-based discussion of various perspectives. They're not for planting seeds for a divisive political agenda.
This legislation, while well-intentioned, unduly would restrict important but challenging conversations that otherwise should occur in classrooms. My opinion is based partly on the testimony of teachers who testified about the unnecessary pressure, intimidation, and uncertainty it would create for them. Trust our teachers, one testified.
That from the Senate floor today. The bill passed on an 18-4 vote in the Texas Senate, and of course now heads to the House, but without a quorum in the House of Representatives, no action can be taken. Now,
okay. So because the Texas Democrats in the House of Representatives, 51 of them at least, have left the state of Texas, rightfully so, to go plead their case in Washington, D.C., and put pressure on especially Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kristen Sinema of Arizona, and plead their case to the senators in the White House. Because they're not there in the Texas House does not have a quorum, meaning 2/3 of the body there to vote on the bill. So they can't vote on the bill till they have a quorum. I want to go back to this article, then we'll go to the phone lines here quickly. This is from Bloomberg Law, bloomberglaw.com. Texas Senate votes to remove required lessons on civil rights. So the bill SB 3, which passed on a vote of 8-4, now is stalled because the House can't achieve a quorum. The special session is set to end on August 6, 2021. Now, it would remove, SB 3 would remove more than 24 teaching requirements from a new law that bars the teaching of critical race theory and academic framework exploring racism's shaping of the country. The law included a list of historic figures, events, and documents required for inclusion in social studies classes. The Senate passed the bill would remove most mentions of people of color and women from those requirements, along with a requirement that students be taught about the history of white supremacy and, quote, the ways in which it is morally wrong, end quote. So they don't want to teach. You have Republicans in the Texas Senate that don't want schools to teach about the history of white supremacy and the ways in which it is morally wrong. They don't want to do that. Now, keep in mind, Texas came into the Union in 1845 as a slaveholding state. Keep in mind, the Texas Rangers, the state police in Texas, they started out in about 1836 as bounty hunters hired by slave owners in Texas to go into Mexico and capture runaway slaves and bring them back to Texas, because Mexico was free territory starting in 1829. Mexico wins its independence from Spain in about 1821. Then Vicente Guerrero becomes president of Mexico in 1829. He abolishes slavery. Vicente Guerrero was of African descent, and he was a former slave. He was the first black president in North America. This is before Barack Obama. This is Vicente Guerrero. So then you have Texas wins its independence from Mexico in 1836. You're going to have that whole fight with the Alamo, right? And David and Jim Boyd and Davy Crockett get killed at the Alamo, right? That was a U.S. settlement where they had slavery in that fort, the Alamo, but slavery was abolished by Mexico, but they didn't care. So then you have Texas comes into the Union in 1845 as a slaveholding state. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Now, this measure would also bar the teaching of the 1619 Project, a New York Times initiative exploring U.S. history starting at the date enslaved people arrived in the English colonies. Okay, even though we know that African people were in this land we call the United States of America going back at least 51,700 years ago. And that's what Dr. David Imhotep details in the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. Okay, and we look at the discovery from Dr. Albert Goodyear in Allendale County, South Carolina in 2004, where they found an overwhelming evidence of an African presence there. These were the Khoisan, who come from Southern Africa and have the oldest DNA on the planet and are the ancestors to the Ainu and the Twa. Now, this is the English settlement in 1619, because we know the Spanish were taking Africans into South Carolina, Georgia area in 1526. And we know Juan Garrido, who was born in West Africa in 1480, Juan Garrido comes into Florida with Juan Ponce de Leon, the Spanish conquistador, in 1513. So this is talking about in the English colonies, because the Spanish were in this land before the English were here. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Republican, who presides over the Texas State Senate, said in a statement after the vote that Senate Bill 3 will make certain that critical race philosophies, including the debunked 1619 founding myth, are removed from our school curriculums statewide. Now, even though there's some problems with the 1619 Project, and a lot of schools are not talking about just incorporating everything, but what do you mean 1619 founding myth? So now the 1619 Project postulates that the real founding date of America is 1619. But it's like you want to deny what happened in 1619, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. You want to deny what happened? And no, and critical race theory and critical race philosophies, they're not trying to teach these in K through 12 schools. So what is it that you're fighting? What is it you're so afraid of? Maybe you should take some of that health care you have paid for by Texas taxpayers and go see a psychiatrist to find out what it is, the fear that you have. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Marathon Line 1. Marathon, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from.
Yes, enjoying the show very much. I wanted to know, when Vice President came to town, was she able to talk with us about the importance of Proposition P?
I'm not sure if she talked about that. Detroit Free Press has an article about that. I looked at it. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know if she talked about Proposition P. That meeting had a lot to do with the pushing the For the People Act and the John Lewis the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and getting those pushed and listening from activists, things like that. That's what that meeting had a lot to do with. I don't know if Proposal P came up. That's a local issue, Proposal P. I don't know if that came up.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling. Keep listening. All right, let's go to. All right, thanks. Let's go to Gary Line 2. Gary, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for calling. Tell us where you're calling from.
Oh, I'm Gary from New Jersey.
Gary from New Jersey. All right. Thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Yeah, I had called in like Friday, but you were like a little busy. We were discussing about the Cuban protests,
right?
Current protests that are going on in Cuba, but you know, like you gotta realize that these racist people, the white Cubans, that are the ones that, you know, they can come in the United States, they don't even question as far as the, you know, how, like if a Haitian comes here, then they try to deport them.
Right.
They were like fleeing the country in boats when they were like having like internal problems in the country. The United States, they would like not even let them, you know, the Coast Guard would turn them around in the Atlantic Ocean and just like let them die, you know, because that's what Dr. Ben used to talk about it, and he called it like genocide.
Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen? Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen? Yes. Okay. All right. Right.
Yes, that's right. He used to comment on that. He said that's genocide. Like if you see a person that is in distress and it's like stop them from even coming in the country, like, or trying to give them aid. But in the case of the Cubans, they would just automatically grant them like citizenship or let them come in the country, you know.
Okay.
Most of them are white. The white Cubans anyway, you know,
right.
Or mostly white, you know, that type. Like Ted Cruz is one of them. Like, you know, that
Marco Rubio and, right.
Yeah, all those people, they remember white Cubans, and they're the ones that are according to like Professor James Small,
mm-hmm.
he said that they are the offspring of the slave masters that were enslaving our brothers and sisters in Cuba, because Cuba's 85% black country, and so that's why they were fleeing, because when Castro took over, he stopped that, stopped them, because they were still like, you know, having slavery, you know, by just like how the United States, even though they abolished slavery in 1865, it still went on. Like in the South, they came up with all kinds of creative methods.
Yeah,
like
debt penury. Yeah, debt penury. Yeah, debt penury is debt peonage. Yeah. You have things like that. Yeah. So Fidel Castro overthrows Fulgencio Batista in 1959, and you're going to have he starts kicking out the white Cubans. as well. And we know that Cuba.
He didn't really kick them out. They fled. They fled the country.
Well, they were.
If they wanted to stay, he didn't really kick anybody out. But they were just so against, what he was trying to do, like allow black people to have power. He appointed like some black people to jobs and stuff like.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't really give black people. I mean, even the Castro and them still is a little bit racist, but not nowhere near the kind of racism that the United States is still executing. The kind of racism.
Okay.
It's like what Black Lives Matter. I'm a member of Black Lives Matter, and I saw the made a statement. I don't know if you followed the press that we support that the sanctions cause these problems, not the anything else other than sanctions. That's what's causing the people in Cuba right now. To some people, but mostly it's the white Cubans. Like the black ones, they realize that they got common sense. They know what is causing the problems. Like that the United States, they with their economic embargo and other means of subjugations that they're executing against Cuba, the double standards that they're executing.
Right. Okay.
Cuba, as opposed to other countries that are communist or that may be socialist too, like because you got a lot of European countries that practice socialism.
Right. All right, Garrett, we're coming up on a break. But Garrett, but okay, thanks for calling back, Gary. We're coming up on a break, but keep listening. Thanks for calling. All right. We're coming up on a break in just a minute. Let me squeeze this in before we go to break. Let's see here. I want to go back to this article here dealing with Texas. So it's Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick referring to Senate Bill 3, which is going to restrict, it's going to remove required lessons on civil rights and women's suffrage, things like this. He said, quote, parents want their students to learn how to think critically, not be indoctrinated by the ridiculous leftist narrative that America and our Constitution are rooted in racism. Now, I think Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick just wants to totally skip over racism. I mean, totally skip over slavery. He really don't want to talk about that at all. Okay. And he doesn't want to talk about things like the Texas state constitution, and the all white primaries that happened in Texas, like in 1918. Now, Senator Brian Hughes said what we're doing with this bill, we're saying that specific reading list doesn't belong in statute, said the bill's author, Senator Brian Hughes, who you heard in one of the clips that I played. Now, instead, such requirements should be in the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or TEKS, standards developed by the State Board of Education, he said. Not just politicians, but teachers and parents and administrators have a say in that process. Now, the bill would prohibit teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues, instructing those choosing to engage with students to discuss without, quote, giving deference to any one perspective, end quote. Speaking on the chamber floor in the state Senate, State Senator Judith Zaffarini, who's a Democrat, said the legislation amounts to tying the hands of our teachers. He said, how could a teacher possibly discuss slavery, the Holocaust, or the mass shootings at the Walmart in El Paso, Texas, or at the Sutherland Springs Church in my district without giving deference to any one perspective, end quote. So read this article here from BloombergLaw.com. Texas Senate votes to remove required lessons on civil rights. This is from Friday, July 16th, 2021. We're coming up here on the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation, The Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.
At Farmington Hills, Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Welcome back.
Views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a quick question or comment. Okay. At the beginning of the show, I talked about a new online course that is going to start up. This is going to start up Saturday, July 24th. Saturday, July 24th. It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is from the Civil War to Civil Rights and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. From the Civil War to Civil Rights and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So it's going to be a 10-week online course. And each week we'll look at approximately a 10-year period of history. Starting in 1865, we'll look at Special Field Order number 15, January 1865, also known as 40 Acres and a Mule. We'll look at the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, April 1865. We'll look at the ending of the Civil War. Then June 19th, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger goes into Galveston, Texas to deliver General Order number 3 to 250,000 enslaved Africans there. We'll look at the 13th Amendment, December 1865, and then we'll look at this Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877. What happens during Reconstruction, the advancements that African Americans are making and acquiring land. Then we'll look at the Compromise of 1877 that ends Reconstruction. And how land is being taken back and rights are being reversed and obstacles are being put in the way of us voting. And we'll look at things like the Texas State Constitution of 1876 and the Mississippi State Constitution of 1890, where Judge Solomon Saladin Calhoun said that we are here to exclude the Negro. And the majority of people in Mississippi in 1890 were African Americans. And you had African Americans voting, just like in South Carolina. In South Carolina, the state legislature in South Carolina after the Civil War is majority African American men. So we're voting and things like this. And then you have this attack on all this, and this reversal after a compromise of 1877, which was a compromise. A lot of black conservatives don't want to tell you this. That was an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats. See, a lot of black conservatives just want to talk about Democrats. You don't want to talk about how the Republican Party sold out African Americans, because the compromise of 1877, during the 1876 presidential election, neither Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican candidate, or Samuel J. Tilden, the Democratic candidate, neither one had enough electoral college votes to become president. So the whole debate goes on for months after the 1876 presidential election. So they come to a compromise. The Republicans say, well, if you let Rutherford B. Hayes become president, we'll remove the Union troops out of the South. The Union troops in the South were protecting the rights of African Americans to a certain extent. The South wanted those troops removed so they can take back power. So the Republicans agreed to this. Democrats let Rutherford B. Hayes become president, and Rutherford B. Hayes, when he becomes president, removes the Union troops out of the South. This ushers in the Jim Crow era. And you see this reversal of rights and infringements on our rights, things like this. And then we see Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, U.S. Supreme Court case. We see the grandfather clauses of 1898. Then we go into the 20th century. World War I, 1914 and 1918. Great Migration, 1915 and 1970. 6 million African Americans migrating out of the South, up north and out west. It's totally going to change this country. We see things like the Red Summer, 1919. Where you had over 25 major race riots in this country. The Red Summer, 1919. You're going to see things like the Tulsa Race Massacre, 1921. This is all after World War I ends. The Tulsa Race Massacre, 1921. We see the formation of a Negro History Week in 1926. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who co-founds the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, September 9th, 1915, during World War I. And 1915 is the 50th anniversary of the Civil War ending in the 13th Amendment. And 1915 is also going to be a pivotal year, because that's the year that the movie The Birth of a Nation comes out, which causes race riots in the streets. And the movie The Birth of a Nation is going to rejuvenate the Ku Klux Klan. So we deal with the Great Migration. We deal with the Red Summer. We deal with World War I, World War II, Rosewood, 1923. We deal with Herbert Hoover, 1928, becoming president. The stock market crash, October 1929. President Roosevelt in the 1932 presidential election. We're going to, each class will go through and analyze a 10-year period of history. And this takes us up to World War II, 1945, baby boomer generation, then the GI Bill. Then we go into the civil rights movement. Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Emmett Till lynching, August 28th, 1955. Montgomery bus boycott, December 5th, 1955. So in the civil rights movement, out of the civil rights movement comes the Black Power movement, because Black Power, that Black Power ideology comes out of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, founded between April, May 1960. And we know June 26, 1966, during the March Against Fear in Mississippi, when Kwame Ture Stokely Carmichael gives his speech about We Want Black Power. See, he's a member of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Black Panther Party for Self-Defense hasn't been founded yet. That's October 1966. So each class, we're going to go through and analyze a 10-year period of history to understand how we got to where we are today, so we better understand what we need to do to get to where we need to go. So this class would be from the Civil War to Civil Rights and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay, this will be a 10-week online course. It'll be Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to post a link here. You can register for the online course. Course is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. And as soon as you register, there's some archive content there that you can start watching as well. Okay. So we do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. All right. And even after the course is over with, after the 10 weeks is over with, you still have access to the class. You can still watch it. All right. That is, and we'll put a link on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, for it as well. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll put a link there, also for the course. Okay. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment. All right. I want to go to this next story here. This next story is dealing with Vice President Kamala Harris met with African-American female activists. We talked about this on Friday. I want to continue that discussion. First, we're going to go to clip 3. We're going to go to clip, I think it's clip 3, Jalen. Vice President Kamala Harris meets with black women. We're going to go to that clip here in just a minute from YouTube. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Okay, I was a guest on Roland Martin. I was a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, July 16th. I'm usually a panelist each Friday. And we talked about this. Now, he interviewed Melanie Campbell of the National Black Civic Participation. Melanie Campbell was one of the women in the room in the meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris at the White House. Okay, so we'll let you hear another excerpt of the interview that Roland did with Melanie Campbell. But first, I want to go to an excerpt of the meeting that Vice President Kamala Harris had with these sisters at the White House. Let's go to, I think this is clip 3. Let's go to clip 3, Jalen.
I am honored as the president to have invited and to have received these guests to the White House who are national leaders on so many issues, and in particular on one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issues that our democracy faces, which is the concerted, intentional effort to deprive the American people of their right to vote. I invited, along with the president, these leaders so that we could have a candid conversation, so that we could talk about who is being impacted, how they are being impacted, always with a context that is historical in nature, understanding that so much of this is not new and is going to require us to be tireless and committed and vigilant in fighting for all people's rights to vote. I look at the leaders that are at this table who are also women and also black women, and I see Sojourner Truth. When I look at the women at this table, I see Ida B. Wells, Amelia Bourgeois. I see Fannie Lou Hamer. I see Constance Baker Motley. And these are the modern versions of those great women who all Americans have the blessing and the benefit of standing on their shoulders. So this meeting has been a meeting and a discussion among leaders who are national leaders, who are American leaders, about what we must collectively as a nation do to stand up for our democracy. You know, yesterday I hosted the Chancellor of Germany in my home, in the official residence of the Vice President of the United States. And we discussed our collective responsibility to fight for democracies around the world. And in the context of that conversation, voting rights in America came up. Because this is not only an issue for us as Americans in terms of the ability to exercise our voice, our rightful voice in our democracy. This is also an issue that is about America standing in the world and whether we can continue to hold ourselves out as a democracy and therefore a leader on the globe. All of these issues are present at this very table in the Roosevelt Room right now in the discussion that we have had. And I want to thank Melanie Campbell and every one of the leaders here for all that you do every day, and this discussion will continue. Thank you. Madam Vice President, you brought up the issue of history. Is this that LBJ moment on voting rights? Are they making you do it, or making Republicans in Congress do it when it comes to voting rights? No one is going to make us do what we know is our right and responsibility, which is to fight for our democracy and fight for our rights every day of the week. And this is, let's be clear, not about any one racial group or gender group. This is about all Americans. This is not an issue about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about Americans. And this group of national leaders are very clear about that. This is the fight for all people, regardless of who they voted for in the last election or who they vote for in the next election. Thank you.
Okay, so that was, you heard April Ryan, White House correspondent for thegrio.com. You heard her ask that question there. The Grio has a really good article dealing with the meeting that took place as well. I'm going to pull up this article here from the Grio. I want to go to this clip here. We're going to go to clip 4. This is Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter. Latasha Brown was in the meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris also. But this clip here, this is from Roland Martin Unfiltered, courtesy Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is from the day before. This is on Thursday, December 15th. And I guess this was when the sisters got arrested. Okay, I think this was right before they got arrested or something like that. But this is from Thursday, July 15th. Okay, this is Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter. Let's go to this clip.
No, it's not privilege. Anytime that Black folks have stood up, right, whenever we work together, when we stand for what is right, it makes a difference. We have to recognize, we have to resist. When people are coming at our community, when people are trying to deny us our rights, when people are trying to deny us our humanity, it is up to us to take a stand. That we literally have to do something. You can't let people attack your community and there's no response. So we are here. We will be here every single week. That we've got to be here because we're not going to go back. That our people have fought too long. There are folks who have died. That where I'm from in Southern Alabama on the Edmond Bridge, where our people literally gave their lives. Like it was beat and we have blood still on the bridge because we stood for the right to vote. This place literally does not have the right to undermine our democracy. This place does not have the right to undermine our humanity. We're standing here not because we believe in a system. We believe in us. And we believe in our own agency. And we believe that in our agency, we have the right to make a decision. Any decision being made about me and my family, I have to be a part of that decision-making process. And so anybody that's watching this, every day, there are decisions that are being made in this place that are impacting our children, that are impacting our families, that are impacting our community. And you have a responsibility to stand for it. You have a responsibility to stand for what it is that you believe in. So, no, this isn't a matter of what is right or what should you do or does it matter or not. Anytime I've operated the fullness of my power, because God gave me that, not the U.S. Constitution. It is God that says that I have agency, that gave me that because my life matters. And all the people in my community, our lives matter. And if we believe that, we have to stand on it. We have to act on it. And so that's why we're here at the city. And we'll continue to go to the city. And we'll go to the White House. And we'll go to the Congress. And we'll go to the streets. We're going to go wherever it's going to take for us to go because we ain't going back.
All right. So that's Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter. She was there. That was from Thursday, July 15th at the Hart Senate building. That's where the sisters were arrested. Now, we talked about this on the show Friday. We know that chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Joyce Beatty of Ohio, was arrested as well. Well, one of the questions I asked is, okay, now these sisters, they didn't have AK-47s. They weren't armed. They weren't yelling, "Hang Mike Pence." They didn't build a gallows with a hangman's noose, outside the Hart Senate office building. This was the Hart Senate office building where they got arrested. This wasn't the U.S. This wasn't. It's in the Capitol. U.S. Capitol area, but this wasn't in the chambers of the U.S. Capitol building, okay, where they arrested. They didn't breach the Capitol. They didn't do none of that, all right? They arrested Joyce Beatty, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Democrat from Ohio. And I was asking questions. They weren't domestic terrorists. They weren't trying to overthrow the government. Why they get arrested and the domestic terrorists on January 6th? Most of them did not get arrested. Even the ones with guns, the ones that beating up police officers and hitting them with Blue Lives Matter flag poles and all types of stuff like that. They ain't get arrested. So why these sisters get arrested? You know, but anyway. But this is one of the questions I asked. I brought this up on Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's the first thing I want to know is that why these sisters get arrested? All right. Okay. So we're coming up on a break. When we come back from the break, we'll go to the phone lines. So we have this, and it is a good article that April Ryan did for the Griot also to check out. This is Vice President Harris hosts Black women voting rights activists after arrest. And we'll get into this deeper on the other side of the break. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN Show, paypal.me / the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. And you see the official Cash App account right here, $, the AHN Show, SHOW. These other ones here are fake African History Network Cash App accounts that somebody set up. I've already reported them to Cash App. Okay, so I'm trying to get those shut down. But when you go through Cash App, it'll say Michael and show my picture there also. We also have the information for PayPal at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And you can register for the new online course that we have starting up Saturday, July 24th, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. From the Civil War to civil rights and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. All right. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation WFDF. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest Black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
The Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. The Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, and we are live. Right before the break, we were talking about the meeting that Vice President Kamala Harris had with African-American female activists on Friday, July 15th. This is July 16th, Friday, July 16th. And this was the day after some of them were arrested at the Hart Senate office building, the Hart Senate office building. And all that imagery and those pictures, they all went viral. We talked about this here on the show Thursday, and we talked about it Friday. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, July 16th. And Roland spoke with Melanie Campbell, who was one of the sisters who was arrested. And you see her sitting next to Vice President Kamala Harris here in the picture also. And so on Friday's show, on the show Friday, I shared the first part of the interview that Roland did with Melanie Campbell to talk about what happened in the meeting. in a minute, we're going to go to the second part of that interview also. All right. But if we look very quickly here at the article here from thegrio.com by April Ryan. April was in the room for the meeting. You heard April Ryan on the clip that I just played, asking a question to Vice President Kamala Harris. But this article here, Vice President Harris holds black women voting rights activists after arrest. And they mentioned Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells' birthday was this past Friday also. Ida B. Wells Barnett, born July 16th, 1862. Friday afternoon, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and staffers listened to what was happening on the ground from African-American women voting rights activists who represented their respective groups in overflow numbers at the wooden conference table of the Roosevelt Room. President Joe Biden dipped into the meeting, which was hosted by Vice President Kamala Harris in the Roosevelt Room, and included a guest list of some of the most notable black women's groups in the voting rights arena. A staffer said the president was glad the women were there, and that his second in command of Vice President Kamala Harris took the lead. America's first black and woman vice president compared the civil rights leaders to historic figures like Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, and others. Okay, now the White House is said to be serious about voting rights and trying to build momentum by continuing its efforts to bring national attention to controversial voting bills passed by Republicans in over a dozen states. And it's actually 18 states now. It's like 28 bills. Let me look at the update here from NBC News. It is, 18 states, 61. Okay, so you have 61 restrictive voting bills moving through 18 states, but it is 28 restrictive new voting laws have been passed this year so far. 28 restrictive new voting laws have been passed this year so far. We know there have been a total of 389 bills proposed, coming from Republicans in 48 state legislatures. Now, the White House has pledged to use the bully pulpit of the Oval Office to push Congress toward passing crucial legislation of its own to circumvent the restrictive state laws conservatives have proposed. Okay, I want to go to clip 4, Jalen. This is, clip 5. It would be clip 5. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is part 2 of the interview Roland did with Melanie Campbell. Let's go to this clip.
Oh, you there? Your Skype froze. Go ahead and finish your point.
Okay. I just wouldn't have believed, I wouldn't have said in November to see this level of backlash, and here we are. And so we have to step up, and that's why we have to not just push inside of the Congress, we have to push from outside, right? And we have to keep challenging the administration to do more and more, as much as they can do. And then it's also the voters. It's not just left up to black folks. It's not just left up to black women, right? It's left up to folks who know that they're benefiting from our vote as well, and even their own. It's like this. We will wake up to a situation that will be one party rule, not just in Congress, but all the way in our local neighborhoods. When we're not even able to be in control of our local boards of elections, things like that we've talked about. But at the end of the day, for our people, you bring up the point. We're definitely not saying that the administration not doing, but this particular issue crosses all. Because you could pass something today and then lose it in the next 2 to 4 years, and that's real. Who gets to sit on the Supreme Court? Who doesn't seem to be interested in voting rights these days. Again, from 2013 to what happened 2 weeks ago with that Arizona case. And so we know, as my sister Cheryl Life will break it down better than anybody I know, when you look at the history in this country when it comes to our voting rights, when we always have had to have federal intervention. And that's just the fact. And so we got to fight and push until we win.
One of the things that I want you to speak to, the key to having different voices out there, especially young voices, and there were young sisters who spoke yesterday who made it clear that this fight is also ours.
One of the young ladies that was with us is Ariel Singleton, who is with Georgia Stand Up as well as Georgia Black Youth Vote. She was with us today in the White House meeting, and she was able to speak her mind about what's important and why this is important to her generation. And one of the things that was really moving to hear her continue to talk about is that the level of trust, that young people trusted the process. And it's important that they see that they went out and voted and that it matters. And so that was a real concern she kept raising yesterday and again today in the White House meeting, and that young people need to see that this does make a difference, and to see voting rights attacked like that says, well, what was the point of all of that if we were all going to move on and then to see voting rights being attacked and nothing being able to be done doesn't make sense.
Where are these white folks? Because I've been making the point that the laws that they're targeting young white voters too. And so, where are they? Who is talking to these young white folks to say, this ain't just us they're targeting college campuses. They're closing down early voting locations on college campuses. This is not just a black thing.
True. And I don't know.
Who's talking to them? Is there a group that's dealing with them?
Yes. I know this week on the series, I know you're serious about what you asked, but I know some of the groups that we are building this whole movement around that we're embarked on is Vote Latino. Teresa Kumar. And Christine Chin was out there with API Vote, because we know Georgia, there were also a lot of Latinos as well as Asian Pacific Islanders, and there was some level of also multiracial coalitions work being done in Georgia as an example. But it's going to take, like I said, this fight is not just, and we're trying to build this in a way, Roland, with what we're doing as a part of, there's a lot of work being done and being done. And this is not saying, we showed up this week and this is because everything. We tried to bring in all of us who are doing work as much as possible to collaborate, to partner, to really connect the dots, because this is a hard.
It is, and it is not an easy one. Melanie Campbell, we so appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, pause it right there. Pause it right there, Jalen. Okay, hey, I just sent you clip 6 and 7, Jalen. We're going to go to clip number 6, Cora Masters. So cue that one up for me. So, as I said on Roland's show Friday before last, which was the 9th, July 9th, I said that we have to expand this conversation beyond just African Americans. If voting rights, the attack on voting rights was taking place in state legislatures, if that is just looked as an African American issue, then we're going to lose, because we're 14% of the population. What's taking place in these state legislatures is negatively impacting elderly white people who vote through mail-in ballots, and a lot of elderly Democrats. It's negatively impacting college-age students, white college-age students, Latino students, Asian Americans. It's impacting adults who are white, who lean Democratic and want to use mail-in ballots, and are negatively affected in various ways depending upon the state. When you're closing down And they've been already negatively impacted because you have 1,600 fewer polling places in 2019, 1,600 fewer polling places than you did in before the U.S. Supreme Court case in 2013, the Shelby County versus Holder. Now, you have a lot of those polling places that have been shut down in areas that have a heavy non-white population, but with gentrification taking place, more white people are moving into African-American inner cities. This is negatively impacting Asian Americans, Latinos, Native Americans. One of the problems is that the 1965 Voting Rights Act, people automatically associate that with African Americans. Dr. King and John Lewis and Hosea Williams. And, we saw the movie Selma from Ava DuVernay, things like this. So when you talk about the Voting Rights Act of 1965, people automatically put that into the black category. That don't have nothing to do with me. That's for black people. But this will negatively impact everybody. It'll negatively impact many people, especially Republicans still elections. It's going to negatively impact people. It's going to hurt you one way or another. So we have to expand the conversation. My question is, where are the white women? See, one of the things I think needs to happen, and this is one of the things we're going to do within the online course that I'm going to teach, from Civil War to Civil Rights and Black Power, 1865, 1968. The women's suffrage movement and the 19th Amendment of 1920. The 19th Amendment of 1920. This is going to hurt women who vote, regardless of race. This is going to hurt women who vote. So there should be women of all different races. There should be men of all different races out there. This can't just be an African-American issue, because it's not. We're just at the forefront of it. But this can't just be an African-American issue. All right. I want to go to this clip here. Now, this is Cora Masters. Cora Masters was there Thursday at the Senate building, the Hart Senate building. She was there. Cora Masters is the widow of, Cora Masters Berry. She's the widow of Marion Berry, former two-time mayor of Washington, D.C. Okay, here's what she had to say. Let's go to this clip.
This is what 40 years ago. And everything they gave us, they took away. Every law you can think about, they can just write up, just with a step with a pen, take our rights away. Okay. I'll be back. I'm never going to back down. I'm never going to stop. Right to my death. And my kids are going to stop. Come on! Not going to do it to us again. 60 years of this. All the bills, 13, 14, 15 amendments, 1964, 65. And we're back here again? Are you kidding me? I'm madder than I've ever been. Yes, or vote. You're going to have to vote. And I'm telling everybody, if the black people stop from voting, everybody loses. It's not a black battle. It's a democracy battle. All the Democrats need to be out here. All the people of color and all the people of righteousness need to be out here. It's not a black battle. It's a moral battle. It's a moral law. They're trying to take everything from us. If we don't vote, we die. If we don't vote, Jim Crow. If we don't vote, separate bathrooms. If we don't vote, slavery.
All right, so that was Cora Masters. Oh, pause it right there. Just pause it right there for a second. I'm gonna come to that just a second, because Roland is coming to me on the panel. So that's Cora Masters Berry, widow of Marion Berry, talking about the fight that she's been involved in personally, going back decades, for the Civil Rights Act of 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, and she said, here we are back again. Now, one of the problems is that many of us don't understand the concept of protecting gains that were made. It's not just voting people in the office that will pass bills and pass policies that are beneficial to you. It's understanding how to protect gains that were made and perceived threats who are coming trying to take away what you have. Because there's always people trying to take away what you have and take you back because they see your advancement as regression for them. They see you advancing as somehow taking something away from them. So it's not just always about what a candidate or what a politician can do for you. Is also understanding how to block and stop what people are trying to do to you and understanding concepts of political self-defense. So it's not, you don't just have to vote to put people in office to pass bills that are beneficial to you. You have to keep people in office to protect policies and laws that are in place that are beneficial to you. We have to understand political self-defense. Okay, let's go to, just let that clip play because Roland is coming to me in the discussion. Let's go to this next segment there, Jalen.
Here's what I'm wondering, and I'm gonna be look. I'm wearing my Alpha shirt. I was text messaging today our general president saying what day are Alphas going to join the 8 Alphas in Congress to do the same thing yesterday. Sigmas. Congressman John Lewis was a Sigma. I want to know when is Phi Beta Sigma going to call their members to have a civil disobedience in the Senate Hart building, like you saw yesterday with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, a Delta, and the Deltas who were there yesterday. I want to know when the Omegas are going to do that, when the Iotas are going to do that. I want to know when the Masons are going to do that. I want to know when the black men going to show up.
Well, good questions, Roland. I talked about this, the protests on my show last night. And also, there were African-American men there. Okay, now I don't know how many got arrested. I think 10.
No. Let me be clear. There were black men who were there.
Right.
We walked along with them. I can roll a video. But follow me here.
Right. I agree with you.
I don't want to. This is what I'm saying. I don't want to see a sister at the next. Okay. I want to see 100. What I'm saying is, I want to see 100 brothers. I want the Kappas,
right,
to say to the Kappas who are in Congress,
right,
we gonna stand with you, and we gonna have 100, 200, 300 there. I want the Masons to be there, saying the same thing. I want the Alpha saying we gonna pick this Thursday. I'm saying what I'm saying is, I don't just want to hear brothers make statements or send out press releases. I want to see them on the front line.
Oh no, I agree with that. I agree with that, and the show of force from those organizations as well.
In their colors.
In their colors, absolutely, I agree with that. It's a few things. I talked about this on my show last night. The first question I asked is, why were these sisters arrested and the domestic terrorists on January 6th weren't arrested? Who attacked the U.S. Capitol building? That's the first thing. First question I asked, number one. Secondly, when you talk to Melanie Campbell about where the white people, one of the critical things here, and we talked about this last Friday, Roland, is we have got to expand this beyond just, in general, a black thing. Because, see, when we talk about the 1965 Voting Rights Act, that automatically gets associated with African Americans. But what is at stake for white college students? What is at stake for elderly white people who vote through mail-in ballots? What is at stake for Latinos and Asian Americans? Largely in this conversation is not talked about. So we have to expand that conversation beyond that and have that outreach to those different groups that are also affected. Because the Voting Rights Act gets associated with Dr. King, John Lewis, things like this. Secondly, you talked about it here. I talked about it on my show. Wednesday, 150 plus corporations signed onto a letter supporting the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But what they didn't say is any Republicans that vote for these voter restriction bills, we're not going to give you any more funding.
That's what I'm saying. Your letter don't mean a damn thing if you keep sending a check.
Exactly. So now look at this. Compare the stance from corporations that they took Wednesday in that letter, and that's a little start, but we got to go harder. Compare that to the stance they took with the Indiana transgender bathroom bill in 2015, when corporations were talking about canceling conferences in the state of Indiana NCAA came out. All these corporations came out. They were talking about withdrawing economic support. Not only did they do this, if you go study what happened, Mike Pence was the governor of Indiana. Corporations put so much economic pressure on Indiana, the state legislature within a week changed the law. That's how much economic pressure they put on. So how is it you come out hard for LGBTQ, but you silent for BLACK? And the same thing with North Carolina. When North Carolina had their transgender bathroom bill, you saw corporations take a much harder stance. So the second thing that has to happen is we have to collectively put our foot up the ass of these corporations that are taking these little baby steps. When we see a history of them taking a much more stronger stance when it comes to transgender people choosing which bathroom they want to use. And lastly, to piggyback on or piggyback on Raji's point, the reason why many of our people don't fight back is because many of our people don't think that we're fighting for. So we got to deal with the self-esteem issue and how we see ourselves as well.
Okay, pause it right there. Pause it right there. All right. Watch the full show at on Roland Martin's YouTube channel and Roland Martin on Facebook. Okay, watch that full show. That's from Friday, July 16th. Friday, July 16th. Okay, and I'm gonna post we'll post this clip here from and this is the clip to the full show. So you can watch the whole discourse, all right, and watch all the segments. We'll post that. That's from YouTube. All right, let's go to the phone lines. And once again, this issue does not just affect African Americans. If you think it does, you need to go do some research. This issue right here, dealing with voting rights, even though we were the ones at the forefront of the fight, this don't just affect African Americans, okay? This impacts impacts people of different races. This impacts impacts men, women, white men, all of this negatively. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to who we have here. We have Sylvia. Let me see who's next. I think Sylvia's next. Sylvia next. Let's go to Sylvia. Sylvia, tell us where you're calling from. Thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History. Welcome to the African History Network show.
Thank you. I'm in Detroit. How you doing?
All right.
I just want to express thank you for the information, because we are thinking that we're the only one targeted. It's just like police brutality. The media only seems to make it sound like it's just a black thing, and it affects so many other people. They just don't. They just don't. It's a blackout on what they do to other races that's similar to what they're doing to the black race. But I have a question. Is there such thing as a world court? Because the UN Chief Counsel has announced that America should be paying reparations, but yet there is a media blackout regarding paying back reparations for the racism past and present.
I've read articles about what the UN said, and how does the UN enforce it?
Okay.
No, that's my question. How does the UN enforce? I've read articles of what they said. I mean, but how does the UN enforce it? If they say, okay, so yeah, the U.S. should pay reparations. Okay, now how does the UN enforce it? I mean, you can take them in front of the World Court, but how does the UN enforce it? If it's a strategy that will work, I'm for it, but at the same time, how do they enforce it? One of the problems is that the whole, and I've talked about it here on this show, is that a lot of the arguments being made for reparations in this country, even by reparations activists, and I know some of them, a lot of these arguments are not legal arguments. This is part of the problem. Because see, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution lays a foundation for a legal argument for reparations, and very few people are making that argument. Brother Reggie Marbury is making it, Dr. Jahi Issa. But the U.S. Congress outlawed the international transatlantic slave trade March 2nd, 1807. That went to effect January 1st, 1808. This is before the Civil War. The U.S. Congress voted March 2nd, 1807 to abolish the international transatlantic slave trade. The international transatlantic slave trade means bringing Africans into this country to enslave them. That went to effect January 1st, 1808. What that means is that from January 1st, 1808 to July of 1860, when the Clotilda came into Alabama, all that was illegal based upon federal law. Not only that, there are court cases to substantiate that, because there were white men who were caught bringing Africans into this country and they were prosecuted. One of the biggest U.S. Supreme Court cases of the 19th century dealt with the Amistad slave ship. You ever see the movie The Amistad?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What happened to those Africans? What happened to those Africans that were on the Amistad slave ship? Joseph St. Q, give us free. What happened to those Africans?
Did they try to escape?
Huh? After the mutiny, after the mutiny on the slave ship, the ship comes to the U.S. Right? What happens to those Africans? Do you remember?
Yeah.
They
were. You know what? I'm thinking about the one when they were stowaways.
No, they won their freedom. They won their freedom in the U.S. Supreme Court. This is a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case because the international transatlantic slave trade was abolished and is rooted in the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Many of the arguments that people are making when they go talk to lawmakers for reparations are not legal arguments. When you go talk to lawmakers, you argue law, because lawmakers legislate law. They don't legislate morality. If you want to talk about morality, go to church. If you go to archives.gov, they have the original court documents from the Amistad slave ship case there. When you go read about this case, the first thing they tell you is that when those Africans were captured, it violated all the international treaties at the time, because European nations had signed treaties to abolish the international transatlantic slave trade. Great Britain did it in 1807. U.S. did it in 1808. So the first thing they tell you is that when those Africans were captured in Sierra Leone in 1839, it was illegal because it violated international treaties. Secondly, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that those Africans on the ship were never slaves. They ruled that they were captured illegally. They ruled that they had a right to fight for their freedom on the slave ship because it was a mutiny. And they ruled that they had a right to fight for the freedom on the slave ship. They ruled that it was illegal for that ship to come into U.S. waters because the international transatlantic slave trade had been abolished in 1808. And they ruled that those Africans should be set free. That's a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, 1841. And they put all that in the movie, and we don't understand it. We saw the movie, but don't know what we're looking at. All right, I gotta go, Sylvia. Call back tomorrow night. I gotta run. Okay, thanks. All right, go to archives.gov, which is the National Archives, and research the Amistad slave ship case. Let's squeeze one more call in here. We got about a minute. Naima, is Naima still there?
Yes, Michael Imhotep. I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York. How are you?
Hey, Brooklyn, New York. How you doing? I'm all right, Naima. Go ahead with your question. Go ahead.
I'm trying to subject to the Civil War, if you don't mind. I'm going to say this real quick.
Yeah.
You know that Robert E's wife, father, is not the Washington grandson?
Okay, your voice is muffled. Are you on a speakerphone or a Bluetooth earpiece?
No.
Okay, you said, did I know who?
Robert E. Lee's wife.
Uh-huh.
Father is not the Washington grandson.
Martha Watson's grandfather? Martha Watson's grandfather? Grandson. Okay. No, I didn't know that. I'm not surprised though, because there's a relationship there various ways. I'm not surprised, but yeah. Robert E. Lee, general out of Virginia, slave owner, took up arms to fight against the Union. And the other thing is that the car on the Dukes of Hazzard, General Lee, is named after General Robert E. Lee. Okay. And that's his. And that's his flag that's on top of the car. See, people think the flag on the General Lee car is the Confederate flag. No, it's not. That's the Confederate battle flag of General Robert E. Lee's army in Virginia. Okay. But yeah, that's who the car is named after. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I listen to you all the time. I know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of people, there's other people listening. A lot of people don't know. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, thanks for calling. Call back tomorrow. Oh, go ahead quickly. Yeah.
Can you just write down the Sycox family? That's the family of Robert E. Lee and Martha Washington. They're on the internet. The Sycox family.
You said what?
Okay. Sycox. SIPHAX. Family.
Okay.
They're on the internet.
Okay.
Because Robert E. Lee is not Lee. Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling. Okay. Yeah. Monday through Friday, it's 11 p.m. to midnight. Sundays, it's 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling, Naima. Call back tomorrow. Okay. Once again, everybody, my new online course starts up Saturday, July 24th. It's going to be 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 10-week online course. From the Civil War to Civil Rights and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. It's a 10-week online course. Each class will look at a 10-year period of time. Okay. And we'll go through and analyze this and see how we got to where we are. We're going to deal with the Civil War and the last year of the Civil War. We'll deal with Reconstruction. Assassination of Lincoln. We'll deal with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Jim Crow era. We'll take this into the 20th century. We're going to deal with all this history. Each class will look at about a 10-year period of time. And I just posted the link here. You can register for that. Class is regularly $130, on sale $80. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again. We'll have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, we'll have the information there. When you scroll down the page, you'll see the information for the ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade. That 10-week course also that meets on Sundays. You can register for that one as well. But you'll see the information for this one here. Okay. And last, these other two topics here, dealing with Robert E. Lee, the statue in Virginia, and this other topic dealing with the New York Draft Riots. We'll deal with that on Monday's show. We're out of time here. If you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. When you do it through Cash App, it'll say Michael and show my picture there. Our Cash App tag is $ the AHN Show, SHOW. This helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. We're here 6 days a week. As you know, I don't get paid to do radio. We're here 6 days a week, so that helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. We have to get out of here. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, everybody. We got to go. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Take care. If you have questions about the online course, if you're trying to register for it, and you run into any problems, email me at ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com. If you run into any problems, trying to register for the new online course, and I'll go ahead and manually enroll you into it. All right. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting, LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid El Hakim directly at 313-645-41